Good afternoon, sober family. I'm Wayne, and I'm an alcoholic. Today's daily reflection is all about building that foundation to which we can utilize in order to grow in our sobriety. I personally can't stay sober on the simple fact that I quit drinking alcohol. There's a whole lot of things that have to go into making my recovery work for me and to be able to thrive in my sobriety. The same could be said for an addict. You can't simply get well by stop using. You have to have a foundation in order to do that, and you have to be able to build upon that foundation in order to thrive in your sobriety and in your recovery. Today's daily reflection for 2 January 2021. First, the foundation. I'm not afraid. First, before we begin, people, let me just send a couple shout outs to Daniel from Veterans with Anxiety, as well as Evan. I have been able to figure out Zoom to the point where I can record a session, as well as have that available for you guys to put up on your channels in order to spread the message that we're sending, that recovery is possible throughout your channels as well, so we can reach as many of you as possible. Is sobriety all that we can expect of a spiritual awakening? No, sobriety is only the bare beginning. As Bill sees it, page 8. Practicing the AA program is like building a house. First, I had to pour a big, thick concrete slab on which to erect the house. That to me was the equivalent of stop drinking. But it's pretty uncomfortable living on a concrete slab unprotected and exposed to the heat, cold, wind, and rain. So I built a room on the slab by starting to practice the program. The first room was rickety because I wasn't used to the work. But as time passed, as I practiced the program, I learned to build a better room. The more I practiced and the more I built, the more comfortable and happy was the home I now have to live in. That's a huge chunk for January 2nd, 2021, folks. Why is that? Because I can directly relate, as well as so many of you, to what today's daily reflection is actually talking about. When I first stopped drinking alcohol, I personally thought that I was okay and that, now that I did that, I'm good to go. The rest of my life will figure itself out. I was completely wrong, folks. I was completely wrong in thinking that just because I put down the bottle that everything was going to iron itself out. Did I factor in cravings? No, I didn't. Did I factor in problems in the rest of my life? No, I didn't. I thought simply because I stopped that I was okay. And that is completely inaccurate. So I had to build upon that foundation of initially quitting alcohol. How I did that for me, folks, and it doesn't have to be for you, was I started to work my Alcoholics Anonymous program because, like I said in yesterday's video and even in the day before in the live stream, I had to go to Alcoholics Anonymous based off of kind of a mandate. So when I got there, I shut up and I had an open mind because I had to be there anyway. So why not absorb what they're putting out? So I had to start there, and I had to start with step 1. I'm powerless over alcohol and my life is unmanageable. Now, you may not be an AA, but think about that. Your life is unmanageable, right? Everything that you do, because of the powerlessness over that drink, leads up to nothing that you can control. You can't even control your own feelings because it's so far out of whack. And let me rephrase that. I couldn't even control my own feelings because they were so far out of whack from the alcohol that it was impossible for me to be able to determine what was reality, what was not, what was a false emotion, and what was a true emotion. You can ask my son, because I showed a lot of fake smiles that really in the back of my mind I was thinking, when the hell can I get out of here because I need to go get a drink. So I was powerless over alcohol. My life was unmanageable. And once I acknowledged that, I could build that foundation for that house. And if you've ever built a house, or you know somebody who has, or you even watched it on TV, you gotta start from the bottom. Weird, huh? You can't start from the roof. What would that make sense? And some folks, even me, thought that I could just jam out the steps and everything was going to be all right in my life. But it wasn't. So, as most of us start out our new year, there's a lot of people who are suffering right now from that first day of sobriety because something catastrophic happened on New Year's or Thanksgiving or Christmas because of the trigger from the emotions that they couldn't control and the alcohol or drug that they couldn't stop using, that threw their life more into a wrench than it was before. There's a lot of folks out there, and if you're one of them, hit me up. I'll be happy to talk to you. Drop me a DM on Instagram, Twitter, or Reddit, and I'm all about sending you just my experience. And if you can take something from that, awesome, folks. What is it getting at here? Sorry for looking at my hat again. The first room was rickety because I wasn't used to the work. Not everybody gets it right on the first try, and not everybody has a smooth transition. Matter of fact, if you're an alcoholic like me, that breakup with alcohol is something fierce. And once you start the work, it seems so complicated and so out of reach and so rough that you're like, why the hell am I doing this in the first place? Because I don't need to, I didn't sign up for all this work. I just want to quit drinking. Well, in order to do that, you have to change a whole lot of things. And because what I was doing before just wasn't working, so my map had to look different and the blueprint for my house had to actually be laid out. I wasn't used to the work, so I started doing the steps. I got jammed up in, step 4, doing my moral inventory and everything else, because I wasn't used to looking inward. Like I always say here on this channel, looking inward is the hardest thing on the planet, and it definitely was for me, because I didn't want to admit my faults. I didn't even want to admit that I had a problem with alcohol, folks, but I did. And when I did all that, and I started with step 1, and then I went to step 2, believed in a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity, and went to step 3, got to step 4, it started getting easier in order to process those steps and be able to start moving forward in my recovery, utilizing the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's not to say everybody is going to get it on the first try. As a matter of fact, I'm not here to fool you, folks. If you've seen any of my videos, I relapsed very hard twice, and I almost didn't make it back. And that doesn't use the word relapse as an accident, folks, because me getting that drink was intentional. My alcoholic brain told me, you made it this far, buddy. Why don't you have just one? And so I did. And then that ended in, about 2 years of estrangement from my family. And that was simply based off of my selfish act to go back out and drink. Now, I did go back to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I did succeed in my program, so to speak, because I'm still a recovering alcoholic, and I always will be, and you might be also. And once I was able to establish my recovery and be dedicated to my sobriety and the desire to stop drinking, and I allowed my higher power to work through me, then I was able to fully grasp the concept of actually working the 12 steps. Now, if that's not your thing, I got it. There are many methods that people use in order to get sober. And if you're one of those folks that can do it without it, that's awesome, man. My hat is literally off to you. And, literally off to you. Don't judge the hair. That shit's whack. And, hence the hat, folks. If you're one of those folks, Godspeed, man. Do your thing. You're awesome, lady or guy. And, I lost my thought again. But anyway, so I learned to build better rooms. The more I practiced and the more I built, the more comfortable and happy the home was. I know what it's like to live on that slab. So the more that I built up that house, utilizing the 12 steps and working the program, the more that I fortified the room, so to speak, and made it more comfortable for me to drive in my recovery process, the better the house is and the more stable my life is and the more close to my higher power that I am and the more that I can hear and receive based off of that alone. But first, folks, the moral of this story is you have to build a foundation first. I had to build a foundation first. And the way that I did that is I admitted my powerlessness over alcohol. I can never get that right. And my lifestyle manageability. That's the first objective. And to stop the behavior, stop drinking or stop using. And that's where you start, folks. You can't just wish it up and you can't hope it up, but you can have hope and you can utilize an Alcoholics or Narcotics Anonymous program in order to get to where you want to be in your life. Now, you have to have the desire to stop drinking or using in the first place, folks. That's not going to happen on its own. And for me, a lot of bad stuff had to happen for that to actually occur in my mind that I need to stop this train because it's moving too quick, and the only way that I'm going to get off of it is when it crashes into the mountainside. That's where I was at, folks. You can relate to that. Drop your comment below, and if I'm going too fast and I've lost anybody, put that in the comments as well. Also, plus, you guys are awesome, and I want to see all of you thrive in your sobriety in 2021, and I want to see many faces that are changing for the better, and that they went from their day 1 and they're celebrating their day 365. But one day at a time, folks, 24 hours at a time. You can do it. I'm here to help, and so are a bunch of people that are around you, as well as many resources that I have in the links below. Life's a garden. Dig it, folks. Guess what? I'm going to see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye-bye.